Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Born Political. I'm your host, Joe Cruz. This is just our fourth show, and we've had so far, we've been blessed with some guests that have been really, really good. We learned a lot about them. And again, I just want to remind everybody this show, although it's called Born Political, it's not a show about a politician or a political person that's going to sit there and talk about their beliefs and ram things down your throat. It's more about finding out about the person. The people who are behind, a lot of these positions that I've been interviewing, and how they become the person they are, and how they make decisions. I think in a very divisive world, sometimes I think we put just tags on people, undeserved tags, because most people that I know that got involved in politics were for really, really good reasons. Tonight's guest is just that. Somebody that I know is a community-minded person. I served on the town council with him as a fellow councilor. And then I served with him when he was the mayor. This is someone that I respected greatly. I'm glad he was able to be on my show. Bruce Flax, welcome to the show, Born Political, man.
Thanks,
for
Joe.
Coming on.
Thanks for having me. I know that the name it's not a political show.
It's
but
not. So the reason I started the show, because there is so much divisiveness, and I said, let's get back down to finding out who people are. The first show, I interviewed my mom. Because I said, in all fairness, if I was going to call a show Born Political and dig into people's who they were, I think people should know who the host was. And my mom shed some light on that. And we're here to shed some light on Bruce Flax.
Yeah, right on.
To me, when we talk about who you are as a person and where you got your views from, there's no other or greater source of where that comes from than your family.
Absolutely.
So, I don't even, are you from this area?
I'm from Massachusetts, Framingham, Massachusetts.
Framingham, okay.
Yeah, so I grew, I was there till 22 or so. Like I went to college in Washington, D.C. at George Washington University.
Okay.
And then I started spending summers on Cape Cod between sophomore and junior year of college. And I got a job at the Cape Cod Melody Tent in Hyannis.
Yep.
And that's how I got my start in ticketing and entertainment, which I did for 34 years. And then, so I went through ticketing and that kind of thing. Was working for Ticketron and Ticketmaster, both in Washington, D.C. and then up in Massachusetts. Yep. And then I worked for World Cup Soccer in 1994 when FIFA came. And I did that at Gillette at Foxborough. And the Crafts had just bought the Patriots. So I worked with them. And then someone told me that there was an opening. They were looking for a ticket manager at Foxwoods. And so I applied, and I was there for the next 26 years. So we moved down. I moved down in December of 94. Was looking at whether we would, I would settle in Westerly and Mystic, and ended up deciding on Mystic, thankfully, I think.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm happy too. Made a great choice, and then I got married in '95, and my wife Kathy, who's a teacher at Ledyard High School, we right after our wedding up in Vermont, we drove down the highway opening up wedding gifts.
Yep.
And 2 days later, she started at Ledyard High School as a replacement. As somebody was on maternity leave.
Wow.
And then so it's we're blessed to live here. I'm blessed with an unbelievable family. It's just everything worked out really, really well. Like we love the area. Got a house, with an acre of land back in 1996, and we've lived there ever since. And
that's the same house.
Same house.
So I bought mine in '97. I came to Groton from New London.
Yeah.
I mean, my journey wasn't as
yeah.
Oh, well, I shouldn't say that, because the people that when I left New London for Groton. If you could have saw, and for me to walk into a New London gym with black and red on, coaching my son,
right.
Oh no, it was awful.
Awful, right? Yeah.
I might as well have said that I was moving to Russia and I was no longer American.
Yeah.
I mean, people were mad.
Yeah.
But to leave your state behind. So how big was your family, like brothers and sisters?
I have an older brother, younger sister.
Okay, so you're
five,
middle.
I'm middle. Yeah.
This is crazy. Like where I've done the fourth show, and we've all been middle children.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, maybe it should be born politically in the middle, I guess, or something like that. But you think that had anything to do with politically? Like I think, I say people are born political because from the day you're born,
Yeah.
you're political because you're crying to get a reaction, whether it's you want to be fed or you want to be held, or that's like your first political move.
Yeah.
And being in the middle for me was dealing with an older brother who was tough to deal with, and having a younger sister that cried a lot, but she was just, our little princess, and we all loved her.
Yeah.
But there's that dynamic that I think shapes your view of the world before you even head out.
Yeah, I think my parents were not. I think they probably were leaned to the left. I
Yep.
think we never talked a lot of politics in our house.
Yep.
It wasn't. And both my parents were working, so it was just it was a good upbringing. I think it was okay.
And they didn't have time to talk politics, maybe.
Didn't have time to and I had like bad knees when I was younger, and so my knees would dislocate. Like if I swung a baseball bat, they would dislocate, and so I ended up having a lot of surgeries from 13 to 18, 13 to 19, and I think that shaped me. I think that you were I wasn't out a lot. I had this kind of I was looked very young for my age.
Yeah.
So I was just talking to some people today. Like there was a picture of me like freshman year of college. I look like I'm 12.
Wow.
And then the whole if you shoot forward to the time in Groton and Mystic,
Yeah.
how I got into politics. Peter Bartnick, right? You must know Peter,
I know
right?
Peter, of course.
Right. So Peter, like we were in the same friend circle.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, we're looking for people to run for town council. Do you want to run for town council? I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Why not? That sounds good. I'd like to get involved with the community.
And it was more of a conversation, not this driving feel. So sometimes it's just as simple as a conversation.
Yeah, just like, oh, he asked. So I'm like, and he said, I was a Democrat. He's like, you have to be a Republican. I'm like, okay. All right, I'll switch. Whatever. I didn't think it was a big deal.
Yep.
And then I ran a couple of times and lost.
Okay.
I
didn't realize that either.
Yeah, which is the way it used to be. Like, it's interesting now, but back in the day, like you had to run like a couple of times to get your name out there.
Yep.
And then you'd get on the council.
Yep.
So I ran a couple of times. I was like the 10th highest vote getter my last time, and then Heather, left to be state. She left to the state senate, whatever she was doing. Okay. And I was a replacement for her, and then I was on for like 11 or 13 years. The last 2 were as mayor.
Wow. Yep.
So
I was on when you served as mayor, and the new council has to deal. It was crazy because I talked to Juan. He got elected, and the pandemic happened, and they were virtual.
Yeah.
And I thought I felt like I was drinking out of a fire hose when I first got elected that first council year, and then I know even though you were a councilor and you had that kind of experience, once you're the mayor, there's just more.
Yeah, there's more, and I really like being mayor.
Yeah.
Like I like being mayor because the town manager runs the town.
Yep.
So the mayor is more the face of the town.
Yep.
And runs the council meetings. But there's a certain air to being a councilor and a certain air to being mayor. And it was just interesting for me to have that full-time job at Foxwoods. But the mayor worked at Foxwoods, and it was kind of cool. Like it was just it's a great experience. I think it's more difficult lately. I think having to figure out. I think things are more political now. There is more divisiveness, so it's definitely it's a more difficult task. But
it's unfortunate. But I think the nature of politics, because we have social media, and where I think before a lot of things wouldn't come to light, or people where you didn't have to hear from certain peanut galleries, I guess. Now they all have this voice and they can talk about it, even though they didn't go to any of the meetings, or things like that can happen where they have this voice where they didn't have before.
Yeah.
And we can see where the division happens, where like I said, if you put up a picture of puppies right now, there'd be 1,000 or 100,000 people saying how cute they are, but you're gonna find 20 or 25 people that are like, why would you put those puppies on there? For some reason they hated the fact that you put the picture of puppies up. And that I think they're dealing with something that I don't think that was normal before either. I think that's part of where we're getting this divisiveness because of the amount of media that we all take in every day. It's
Absolutely.
It wears on you. It's almost too heavy.
And it gives everybody a quick opinion, and it just pounds. That social media just pounds. And if you're on the wrong end of it, or I mean, just look at like the Groton Forum and the Stonington Forum.
Yeah.
Have you? I mean, like.
I know. Well, New London too.
And
I
yeah.
represent New London, so they have those forums and a lot of times I think they were started. And I'm the ultimate optimist, and I know you are too, because I know the work you do. You have to be optimistic, bringing the community up. But I was optimistic because I thought, wow, we have this great venue where everyone can share their opinion, and all these folks are going to have to learn about all these good things happening. And I just think it's human nature that we're always drawn to the car accident or to the bad news or the bank robbery. I remind people that, to me, if this interview, unless something goes really drastically wrong where someone throws something and breaks a TV, most people won't see it or hear about it or talk about it. But we don't, or a family reunion that goes completely right.
Yeah.
350 million people live in this country, and there could be 100,000 family reunions on Saturday afternoon, but we'll only hear about the one where something went tragically wrong.
Right.
And it's human nature.
Yeah.
And you couldn't report on 100,000 good stories about family reunions. I get all that, but it seems like we focus on too much on the bad.
and then like if you look at like over in Stonington, when they were looking to do any kind of development, even here, I mean, with the oral school project.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times in the past, sometimes the developer will do the right thing. They'll get on, they'll say that they're having a meeting and they're going to talk about it. They want to get input from the community, and nobody really hears about it. Some people hear about it, and they hear about it if they want to, and there might be 10 people in the meeting, and then somebody gets on that forum.
Yep.
Did you hear that they want to put this, that, and the other thing here, and how can they do that? And it just blows up.
And for me, when people say that, well, I didn't know, that's why you elected a council or you elected someone, because the reason we do know is because we're at those 4-hour-long meetings and informational sessions, and so we do know a lot more than most of the public will know because you're involved.
Because you're in it, right?
But then you get called and, well, I would have did this. It's like, well, God, I wish you really showed up to the meeting, and we did that because I think when we served, and what I think the only thing that's coming out, I know there's divisiveness, but what I've seen is there's a lot more people coming out, a lot more people wanting to run, a lot more people wanting to be involved in boards and commissions. And I think, right now we're in this weird time in our history, but I think eventually we break through that. And I think just more people being involved is always good. If we had how many people, you were the mayor, if five people showed up about an issue, we'd say, oh, this must be serious.
Yeah.
5 people showed up.
Well, and when we would do when we had the budget meeting, at the senior center.
Yep.
Before they start the budget process.
Yeah.
And you'd see there'd be the same 8 people who came about, some musical thing that they wanted to make sure that money got donated to, and the people from the Mystic Knowing Library would come and make sure that they were trying to get their fair share of money, and there was but now I think it's like the number of people are squared. It just keeps growing, and I think unfortunately some people come in. Passion is great.
Yeah.
Like you have passion for something, and you want to make sure, but it seems like it's like on passion on steroids at times.
Yeah.
How people get in there and how they want, and you see it on some of the news stories. But I think our town, Groton, and Mystic and Stonington, is an unbelievably great community.
It is.
And I think there's a lot, the majority of people are well-meaning and care, and that's why they come out. And
I think in the end that'll all we'll see. We're seeing the fruition of even what our councils have done before. The new schools, because new schools don't happen without community voting for it.
Yeah.
I think we did a great job. I think a lot of the school board committees, everyone and our superintendents, when we went to the community and said we needed new schools, we had the naysayers. But when you really look at the work that was done, and even the work's being done now, that especially in a pandemic, you realize that, oh man, those old schools aren't very good. And now we know when our parents are dropping someone off at school, they're youngsters, that they know that they're going into a good school. What I remember about our relationship on the council, to me, at first we were the majority, 5-4 Democrats. When you became mayor, I was a singular Democrat, and I think we got things done. To me, it was very cordial. I think,
Oh, yeah.
and I always
Yeah.
remember that, being mayor. That was weird because that was a time when I was going through the personal issue of finding out my son was
Yeah.
addicted to opiates. And I remember the night because we were really teetering on saying something about my son being addicted because it was something that we didn't, people said, don't say anything because you don't want him to not be able to get a job later or do this later or that later. And you want to make sure that, you're not hurting him. And after talking to other people about it and realizing that a lot of kids I had coached were going through the same thing,
Yep.
I told my wife before I drove up the hill, I said, I'm just gonna say something about this on the council because I believe it's a community issue and I think that the council would be able to help. And I remember just saying that, hey, my son's addicted to opiates and we're really afraid that something's gonna be really bad and I'm afraid for our community and we don't know where to go forward. And you stood up and came right over to me. And I remember that. I mean, it was right after the meeting. We said, listen, whatever you need, Joe, whatever has to happen. And the whole council did, and so did the RTM. And other members called me that I had served before, saying we didn't know going through it. But I said it wasn't. The reason I said it wasn't because I was going through it. It's because the whole entire community was going through it. It was not unique, and I felt like it needed something. He said, but for you to jump in, and then you did. You helped out with things, and you asked what we needed.
Yeah.
And I thought that was.
Well, I also remember the sports talks, like the spring and the winter. I think spring and winter sports where my kids played sports and they would go down. And I remember your son speaking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
And talking about that. And I also remember a couple of things at the high school when Gloucester cops came. Right? Didn't
Tammy brought the
and
Gloucester police
because
chief.
they were doing stuff. They were
Yep.
like facing the situation head on
Yep.
and trying to get the police to help people instead of just put it behind bars, I think it was.
And that's what I mean, because we said we had a problem, and it'd been easy for you to say, of course we'll help. But when we said that we wanted to bring our police chief up to Gloucester, the council was in full support of it. Yeah, go up, whatever you guys got to do. And then I still remember the chief of police. I'll have him on the show one of these days because I think we're blessed to have him too. But he basically was not hired at that point. He had come that night to listen to the Gloucester
LJ,
the chief LJ. LJ Fasaro come on his own time. He wasn't a hiree. We were still in the process of it. The council was going to vote on it, or not vote. I mean, I guess town manager got to hire him, but we were going to approve it. Give the stamp of approval from the council. But that night he was there. You were there to see the amount of people that showed up, and I think that gave us strength to be the group that we even are now. Community Speaks Out's grown leaps and bounds, but I don't think it would have even started it wouldn't be this far if it wasn't for the community just saying, whatever you need. And that was kind of the common chorus we kept hearing, whether it's from the council, and it didn't matter what side the political lines were, especially in this issue. I mean, Democrats and Republicans, I think in the end, we all want our kids to have a nice college education and a nice place we want them to be able to live where we grew up. Those are all common goals that we all have. And I think in the end, it's just about the arguments are usually about how we get there. And those shouldn't be arguments. They shouldn't be, friendship ending arguments. It's just, it's like, Bruce, I want to go to New London. And you're like, well, let's go to New London, but I want to drive up to Norwich and go over that bridge. And you're like, Joe, that's not the way I want to go. I think we should go over the Gold Star. It's quicker. And I'm like, well, I don't like the Gold Star. But those are the arguments we're talking about that seem to just blow everything up. They shouldn't.
Well, I think that, the kind of what we were talking about before with community, that it is like a solid community. And, when push comes to shove and there are major issues in our community, the people get together and they take care of business, and that's even at the chamber level. Sometimes you see it. You just see like how people get involved, how the different organizations get involved. And when, at the end of the day, we all live here and we all want good things. We do. I think we're all shooting for, everyone to be happy to a certain extent. And safe and where I think we collectively do a good job.
Oh, I think so. I mean, coming from New London and then to Groton, the passion that New London has. They call you a New Londoner once you're a New Londoner, you're always a New Londoner. I've been accused now of not being one because I'm right on the teetered edge of living in Groton longer in my life than I did in London. But I graduated from New London High School. I gotta remain a whaler, But for a Fitch guy, I mean, you don't get that river feel because you grew up
Right, exactly. I
in
grew up
Framingham. So
but there was when we in Framingham we had north and south.
oh
So
yeah,
back when I went to high school, there was a north side of town and the south side of town. Now there's just one. They made it one high school, but it was big. I mean, there was
yeah.
it was big rivalry and it was big. So, Framingham they were the largest town in the United States population-wise with a town government,
Yeah.
but they just switched to a city. They just became a city with a mayor. Not
Do you
too-
go
I think
back? Is
within
your
5 years.
family still there? Do you go back
No,
up?
no. My parents are both gone, but my brother and sister live in Virginia. My brother's
Virginia.
actually up. Hopefully he's watching.
Your brother? Oh, your brother's up here. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully he is
He drove up
watching.
today, so.
Yeah. How often do you get to see your brother live on TV?
Well,
right?
I was thinking about it today. Like I haven't seen him since before COVID. So
Oh, it's been that long.
yeah, yep.
Wow. And is he coming up and staying with you for the week, or
He's staying for a couple of days, and he's going up to Massachusetts.
back to Framingham?
I'm sure he'll stop in Framingham. Yeah.
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't he? Right.
Yeah.
The other thing, I mean, we share a bunch of moments together. You organized at the point. I think you were mayor, and you had reached out to the police department and challenged them. You challenged them because we had a council of 9, so that means we had 9
Yeah.
players, right? Technically,
Yeah.
we had a baseball team. Physically, we probably didn't
Yeah.
have a full baseball team, but we actually put on uniforms. Very nice. I still
Yep.
have my uniform.
Yep.
And we had a great. It was a great day.
It was a great day. We lost like 35-1, but it was a great day, and that's the kind of stuff that like I yearn for a little bit. I have an opportunity to try to do it with the chamber a little bit, but that stuff is the best. Like there were school teachers who came out. There were people who worked for the town who came out and played with us, and the police, and then also the police games that were between the town and the city were great too.
Yep.
Like where they would play over in Washington Park. That kind of stuff is just to me it's priceless.
Yep.
And when you can walk out to a softball field with all these different members of the town staff and the council and play the police and have it be a great day and
Yep.
you have a cooler so it's not too far away and and have a good time. It's a great moment and the thing about social is they come up now as memories, right? Like
Oh yeah.
like I love the memories like every day, like what comes up from 8-10 years ago and
That shirt looks far different on me than it did. I mean, that seemed like 100 years ago, but it was only in like 2015 or 16.
yeah, it's 16.
That we played that.
Yeah.
And just the world has changed and everything. Everyone did the COVID-19. I think I did the COVID-30 or whatever I did, but I added weight. So we talked about a lot of different things. So where you grew up and all these other things, and I knew you were the ticket guy.
Yeah.
When we got on the council, it's like, oh yeah, Bruce you can get tickets for anything. Your whole life was around tickets.
It was.
And now you have this big transition because I seen it change. I saw you walking down the street in Mystic one day. I was pulling up and I was on my way back from lunch. I happened to be going. We were measuring something on a boat, and there's Bruce walking down, and you normally wouldn't see Bruce in the middle of the day walking down in Mystic because he was always at Foxwoods.
Yeah.
And now your job is different, and it's actually geared almost tailor-made for you. Yeah, I know you like being involved with the whole ticket thing was, selling tickets to the show, but now you're kind of like the producer of the show in a lot of different ways. You and your
you're right.
team.
Yeah,
I think it's a transition that fits you.
It's gone well. Like it definitely is. It's tough. I mean, it's tough in that I was at Foxwoods for 26 years,
Yep.
and I was in the entertainment business for 34 years, and yeah, that leaves a mark on you. I
Yep.
mean, like I like that environment.
A welt or a mark?
A
welt?
bow, yeah, well, yeah. And so I think I don't regret going. I think it was a good move. I'm happy. I'm more calm. I'm sure my family would say that too.
Yeah.
But because it was during COVID and I had gotten furloughed, and we were pretty sure I was going to get called back, but it ended up that you don't get to say goodbye. So like all these people I worked with at Foxwoods,
Yep.
and I'm eternally grateful to the tribe
Yep.
for the 26 years that I had there and respect them. The respect I have for them as a nation,
Yep.
and the people who work there is immense, and want to help them now. But you didn't get to say goodbye, so that was a little bit of a weird thing, being someplace for that long, and not having
the typical thing that you
Yeah,
would expect.
right. But the chamber's going great. The staff has changed. We have I hired 2 young ladies in the office, and there's a great vibe. They're bringing great things, a great work ethic,
Yep.
We're making changes to events. So like the art festival, we took off the Groton side,
Yep.
and it ran the river right into. We partnered with the seaport, so it ran into the shipyard, and that went very well. We created a new event. We did have um, the fall festival that was at Pequannock, that used to be in October, and we worked with Groton Utilities and the city of Groton, and we had the 5K brew run at Eastern Point Beach.
Yep.
Last September. That went great. It's already planned for September 10th of the upcoming year. And then the big thing this year for the chamber is that it's the 100th anniversary of the
Yeah, you were
Basque
saying
Bridge.
that.
Yeah, and it's like, so one of the things that I always wanted to see was fireworks in Mystic.
Yeah.
So with the celebration for the bridge, we're doing a lot of stuff, but people should mark their calendars, because October 15th in the Mystic River, we're going to have fireworks. We've already had them paid for. I was actually on the phone today with a potential barge company, because the fireworks have to get loaded onto a barge. I'm learning all kinds of new things.
Is this a secret now where they'll be getting launched from? Because
No, it's going to be by the seaport.
it will be. So
It will be.
Well, actually, that's you don't have enough water mass.
Not enough room
before
down
it.
by the bridge, right?
So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for people to be lined up on River Road.
River Road and right into town.
seaport,
Yep,
right,
I've learned that, like in talking to the fireworks companies, that they're dimensional. So you want to watch, if they're like across, you want to watch them from here so that you see the three shows that are in front. If
Yeah.
you watch it from over here, you're kind of watching through. So they're like, how do you want to? So I think we're going to parallel Route 27 and River Road, and which is the best viewing.
That's probably the
but
most
they'll be
sense for
viewing all
most
the way down,
people.
and so earlier that day on October 15th, we'll have a presentation of a plaque to the bridge. We will be awarding 4 scholarships to Grasso, Fitch, Stonington, and Westerly.
Yep.
And so there'll be information coming out about that, and they're substantial scholarships. I think they're going to be minimum $4,000 each.
Well, that's great.
And the Foxwoods is a presenting sponsor, and they're helping us with the scholarships and with the fireworks. And it's going to be an epic year. So we're really excited.
Well, in a year, 2 years of COVID, when you said that you didn't have the retirement party, I mean, you think of all the even funerals and the the
you're
birthday
right.
parties.
You're
My
right.
50th birthday was in COVID. At my 60th birthday, I'm probably gonna want to stay home, go to sleep. My 50th birthday, I was ready to go, and like you feel people being sad about it. But the one thing that COVID did change for me was I said, you know what? Maybe my 50th birthday won't be. Maybe it's gonna be next year in August.
Yeah.
Why do we wait for these dates and these marks to celebrate our lives? And,
Yeah.
so maybe, and you see that now in the job market, and I know that must be a challenge working in the Chamber of Commerce. That's got to be a challenge. You must be hearing from all the members about how to get help and the industries that you work with most. From what I saw I'm a 60 Minutes guy.
Yeah.
I guess I'm an old guy.
I'm a huge 60 Minutes guy.
But they're saying most of the losses have been in retail and hotel and hospitality, and that's really a lot of the meat and potatoes of what you deal with on the commerce. So
yeah, no, the businesses, it's been they've turned on the COVID, and they've done well. Businesses in Mystic have done well, but they're hurting too. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
You don't have the employees that you had, and you're trying to do more with less, and it's a new day.
I think all these businesses have done more with less.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, we did it through Hillary, and I've seen all the ingenuity and the different ways they've been able to serve people with curbside pickup and all the different things they came up with. So we're out of time already.
It went so well.
It went. Yeah. It's the end of our show. This is the fourth Born Political. Me and Bruce, we could have talked for probably 5 hours. A lot of times, I will talk about to the guest ahead of time what we're going to talk about and try to plan it. I knew I was going to have to do that because when you have a guest that has done so much for the community and in the community, there's a lot to talk about. So Bruce, I mean, I want to thank you personally because we do have this relationship. We worked side by side a lot of times, and he's helped me out in a lot of different ways. Again, if you want to be on the show, or if you know somebody or you think that somebody would be a great interview and you want to hear about their life story or how they got their political views, email me. My contact information is right there on the screen. I look forward to seeing you guys next week on Born Political. Have a good night. We'll see you next week. Thanks a lot, Bruce.
Thanks, Joe.